the last step, is step 5, which is get your brain on board. And our resident expert on getting your brain on board is Lisa.
Hi. Well, first off, I want to say that when this concept is so powerful, if, and everything we've said so far is so powerful, but this concept has done more for me and for my efforts than probably all of the rest of it. And the reason for that is that, when we talk about getting your brain on board, we're talking about our beliefs about ourselves. We're talking about believing that you can accomplish this, and we're talking about how we see ourselves. And one of the things that if you've ever started trying to get healthy, or you want to be able to fit into a certain size or whatever, when you first start, if you have it in the back of your mind that I'm not going to be able to do this, okay, I'm going to try, but I just don't really think that it's going to work, well, then you know what? It's not. And there's just no way to break through that. And science has studied this quite a bit. There's just an overwhelming amount of research on how our mindset and how what we think about ourselves affects not only our success in any area, but our actions and how well we can even follow through on the plans that we want to make. And if you've ever found yourself, say when you're trying to be healthy and you're trying to do good things as far as health, but somehow you just catch yourself doing things that sabotage your efforts, you find yourself, you're not even really sure why you grabbed, whatever it was and ate it, or why you didn't make time to go work out or do your exercise today, whatever little excuses that you make. A lot of it has to do with how you're thinking of yourself and your subconscious mind. There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's an old book. It kind of came out in the 60s for the first time, but it's still an important book today, and that's because the information in it has been tested and proven for the last 40, almost 50 years now, and it's been shown to be very true. It's been shown to be, it was just one of those breakthrough books that just kind of changed everyone's thinking. And the author speaks very specifically about weight loss in the very beginning of the book, and he talks about something he calls the snapback effect. Okay, and what this is if you have been overweight for any amount of time, and most of us have, and if you have made several attempts at losing the weight that didn't work out for you, and most of us have done that as well, then your subconscious mind sees you as an overweight person who's destined to always be an overweight person. And you may say, no, I believe I'm supposed to be thin. And maybe in your conscious mind you do. But if every day for years and years you've looked in the mirror and seen someone that was overweight, the part of your brain that tells you to breathe and the part of your brain that makes your heart beat, that part of your brain sees an overweight person and thinks that's what you're supposed to be. And there's this thing about us as human beings, we can't be dishonest with ourselves. If we believe that we're a kind-hearted person, then we do things that are kind without having to think about it. Or if we believe that we're not a morning person, then mornings are going to be tough for us no matter how much coffee we drink. Even if we've had plenty of sleep, we still wind up a little bit grouchy in the mornings because that's what we believe about ourselves. And so Dr. Maltz, that wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics, I'm just going to read a passage out of it for you. He says, the person who has a fat self-image, whose self-image claims to have a sweet tooth or to be unable to resist junk food, who can't find the time to exercise, and this is the important part, will be unable to lose weight and keep it off no matter what he tries to do consciously in opposition to that self-image. You cannot long outperform or escape your self-image. If you do escape briefly, if you do start to try to change those habits without changing what you think in your mind, and okay, I've gotten away from what he says, but he says if you do escape briefly, you'll be, quote, snapped back like a rubber band. So your brain is so powerful, and you have to, almost before you can even start, or as you start trying to make these changes in your life, you have to start by changing how you see yourself. Okay, and so how do we do that? You might want to say, well, gosh, how do I start to see myself as a thin, beautiful, attractive, vibrant person? How do I begin to see that in my mind before I get there? And science has an answer to that as well. Dr. Scott, I want to try an experiment. I want you to do it with us too, okay? I want everyone right now to close your eyes and I want you to I want you to visualize a lemon, a slice of lemon. Okay, maybe you went out to eat and sitting on the side of your drink that you got, if you got water or tea or something, there's a slice of lemon. So I want you to imagine picking up that piece of lemon and putting it in your mouth. I want you to really visualize it. Imagine what the lemon smells like. You know, think of the smell of a lemon and see the lemon in your hand. And now I want you to think about putting that lemon in your mouth and biting down on it. Okay? Now when you imagine biting down on it, did your mouth water? Okay? I think for most of us it did. And the reason for that is that our mind, our conscious mind, our subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between the things that really happen to us and the things that we imagine very vividly. So, and studies have shown this as well, okay? We all experienced it just now, but also there have been studies where scientists have taken groups of students, college students, and they have, they've set them up and have put them in a room, and it's been a very warm room so that there was no reason to be cold, and they had them to imagine themselves on the top of an Arctic mountain where they could see, where they could feel that they were standing, knee-deep in snow. And they, said, now just imagine the cold wind as it hits you and, see the snow around you. And so as the students would imagine themselves in the situation, they would monitor their body temperature, and their body temperature would actually begin to drop, even though they were in the warm room, just because of what they were imagining. So if you can, the way to start to change the way you think is if you can start to, as you drift off to sleep at night, or sometimes maybe when you're in traffic, anytime where you have time where you can spend some time really vividly imagining things, start to imagine yourself as that person. Build a picture in your mind of how you're going to look when the weight is gone, when you reach that goal. And the more vividly you can imagine it, and the more time you spend imagining that, the more that your subconscious mind will start to see you as that person. And now suddenly, instead of being sabotaged by, in your weight loss efforts, suddenly instead of finding yourself reaching for the sweets or reaching for the potato chips, you'll find yourself not wanting them. You'll find yourself, it just becomes so much easier to stick with the things that you've consciously decided that you want to do.